My name is Adam. Before this all came crashing down, I had a life many would envy. I was a project manager at a mid-sized tech company, living in a sun-drenched California suburb, driving a respectable German sedan, with a fiancée, Sarah, whom I loved dearly. My life was supposed to be on a clear upward trajectory. Work hard, get promoted, marry, start a family, and watch our kids run around a sun-splashed backyard. Looking back now, however, I see that I had unknowingly blown that trajectory to smithereens with my own hands, leaving behind nothing but wreckage and endless regret. My life as a gambler began on a seemingly ordinary Friday night in 2019. The story starts innocently enough, with a touch of high society networking. Our circle of friends, mostly colleagues and clients, held a weekly Texas Hold'em night. This wasn't some sordid game in a dimly lit basement. It was hosted in a friend's spacious apartment overlooking the city lights. We'd drink craft beer, chat about industry trends, and the chips on the table seemed like mere accessories to the socializing. In the beginning, I'd win a few $100s a day in these friendly games. I fancied myself a skilled player, good at calculating odds and even better at reading people. That little income gave me a nice ego boost. Back then, what little sense I had left allowed me to step away briefly. I told myself it was just a game, not to be taken seriously. However, my social circle was like a slow-acting poison. Its toxicity wasn't the poker itself, but the atmosphere of easy money that surrounded it. At one party, my friend Mark, a charismatic sales director, was reeling from the loss of a major deal. On a whim, he placed a bet on an NBA game on his phone. He was distracted all evening until the final buzzer sounded. His phone lit up, and he shot up from the couch, holding it aloft and yelling, "Yes, $10,000. Just like that." Everyone's attention was drawn to him. I leaned in for a closer look and saw a beautifully designed sports betting app, its screen flashing with the green digits of victory. I remember that moment clearly. The shock I felt was far greater than any congratulations I had for him. The deal Mark lost might have cost him months of commission, yet in the span of a 2-hour game, he had effortlessly won back the price of a used car. The dramatic, almost magical power to turn one's fortune around with such little effort planted a seed in my mind. At our get-togethers, the cheers of winning big became more and more frequent. People were no longer content with the few $100s won or lost at the poker table. The numbers on their phone screens became the new currency of bragging rights. They discussed spreads, odds, and inside tips as if they were all master investment strategists. Finally, on a boring weekend, I downloaded the app myself. My first bet was $100 on my team, the Los Angeles Lakers, to win. When LeBron James hit the game-winning shot, the feeling I had wasn't just the joy of a fan, but an indescribable ecstasy, a mix of adrenaline and a sense of control. That $100 turned into $180. It wasn't a lot of money, but the feeling of I called it was far more addictive than any victory at the poker table. Soon, I began to systematically research games, analyzing stats, and reading expert commentary, fooling myself into believing I was making rational investments. At first, I stuck to small bets of a few $100s, and the returns felt good. For a while, my monthly gambling income even surpassed what I made at my part-time job. I started bragging to Sarah about my track record. Though she was a little worried, she saw how confident I was and just reminded me to be safe and don't play too big. As my profits grew, the betting company took notice. A man who called himself a VIP account manager contacted me on WhatsApp. His voice was smooth and professional. He told me that based on my betting volume, I had been upgraded to a platinum member and was entitled to a range of exclusive services, higher betting limits, faster withdrawals, and gifts from the company. The first gift was a first-class ticket to Las Vegas and a 3-night complimentary suite at Caesar's Palace. I took Sarah with me. We checked into a luxurious room overlooking the entire strip, with a welcome bottle of champagne and a fruit platter on the table. The account manager greeted us personally, booked us dinner at a Michelin 3-star restaurant, and got us tickets to the hottest show in town. In the casino, he gave me a few $1,000s in promo chips. He told me, "Adam, here, your only job is to enjoy yourself. Winning and losing are all part of the game." That sentence, like a devil's curse, completely changed my perception of money. When every luxury was so easily attainable, when lost chips could be so easily compensated, money was no longer a reward earned through hard work. It became a string of cold, playable numbers. That weekend in Vegas, I lost nearly $20,000. Yet, as we were leaving, the account manager smiled, saw us to the door, and thoughtfully waived all our food and accommodation charges, even hinting at a higher line of credit for my next visit. Far from feeling the sting of the loss, I was filled with the delusion that I was someone important. After returning from Las Vegas, my bets began to climb wildly into the 4- and even 5-figure range. I was no longer satisfied with winning or losing a few $100s on a single game. I started chasing the thrill of one bet settling everything. My life for the next 3 months felt like it was on fast forward. I bet frantically, day and night, the glow of my phone screen the only light in my life. I stopped caring about my work projects, constantly refreshing scores during meetings. I stopped sharing my life with Sarah. When she asked me what was wrong, I'd impatiently brush her off with stress from work. When I won, I would immediately book a fancy restaurant or buy her a luxury handbag she'd always wanted, using material extravagance to mask the emptiness in my heart and the growing chasm between us. When I lost, I became numb and irritable, chasing my losses with bigger bets, convinced the next one would be the winner. The real wake-up call came from my friend David, the same friend who had once flaunted his winnings at a party. One Saturday night, a few of us gathered at his place to watch a major college football final. David had clearly bet heavily on his team. He was trembling with nerves throughout the game, and as it got closer, he kept placing more bets on his phone. In the end, his team lost on a last-second comeback by their rivals. I saw the color drain from David's face. He stared blankly at his phone, then violently hurled it against the wall, where it shattered into pieces. He collapsed onto the sofa, his eyes vacant, muttering, "It's gone. It's all gone. $300,000. I'm finished." That scene is burned into my memory. It was the first time I had seen the destructive power of gambling so viscerally. It wasn't just bouncing numbers on an app, it was the complete breakdown of a human being. I snapped back to reality and checked my own account. In that short 3-month span, with all the ups and downs, I had a net loss of $70,000. The number sent a cold wave of fear through me. I looked at the devastated David on the couch and saw my own future. I was scared. I was scared of ending up like him, but even more terrified of losing Sarah and everything I had worked so hard to build. That night, I deleted every betting app from my phone and for the first time felt a sense of relief. For the next 8 months, I didn't touch a single bet. I poured all my energy into my work and into Sarah. Our relationship mended. I gave her a sincere apology, and although I downplayed the $70,000 loss as an irrational stock investment, she forgave me. At the end of 2020, we got married. It was the happiest day of my life. I thought the responsibilities of marriage and family would be the strongest shield against my demons. Life after marriage was calm and happy. I started watching the NBA and NFL again, but this time I was very restrained, occasionally placing a $50 or $100 bet with colleagues for beer money, purely as entertainment while watching the game. I even felt that I had fully recovered, that I could gamble for fun like a normal person. I had completely stopped until the COVID-19 pandemic hit. In 2021, the world ground to a halt. The stay-at-home order trapped me in a house that was once warm and comforting, but now felt suffocating. Work became a series of remote meetings, my social life ceased to exist, and being with Sarah day in and day out, the initial novelty quickly gave way to boredom and depression. A great uncertainty and anxiety about the future loomed over everyone. In that isolated solitude, the demon deep inside me reawakened. It spoke to me in a deceptively rational voice. "Adam, you're different now. You're married, you have a family. You're more mature, more responsible. You're just bored right now. Just play a little, as a diversion during the pandemic. You can totally control yourself." The excuse sounded so airtight. One night, long after Sarah had fallen asleep, I found myself, as if possessed, Googling sports betting. I found an offshore website that looked even more professional and international than the last app, even boasting 24/7 customer service. I thought it would be more reliable. I used a credit card I rarely touched and deposited $500. And just like that, I was back in. It was like history repeating itself, but this time, the fall was terrifyingly fast. The bets slowly, almost imperceptibly, grew from a few hundred to thousands of dollars. I was losing more than I was winning, and was in the red overall. But I no longer cared. I wasn't chasing the money anymore. I was chasing the thrill of the bet, the momentary escape from reality. I started playing more volatile in-play bets, like which player would score next in basketball, or the outcome of a single field goal in football. This style of betting completely detached me from any appreciation of the sport itself. I was no longer a fan, just a bloodshot-eyed gambler staring at the ever-changing odds on a screen. My life was once again consumed by gambling. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to watch an obscure European soccer league match simply because I had bet on the number of corner kicks. I'd sneak away to place bets on my phone while on a walk with Sarah. I became a pathological liar, making up excuses for why I was always so tired and why the credit card bills were so strange. I convinced her that we should manage our finances separately, under the guise of respecting each other's privacy. Finally, I dug myself into a massive hole. After a series of frantic bets trying to win it all back, my losses reached a staggering $470,000. This was the equivalent of the down payment on our house, the equivalent of several years of my salary. I knew I couldn't hide it anymore. I chose to confess to my parents, traditional, hardworking, and frugal middle-class Americans. I just couldn't find the courage to tell them their son was a hopeless gambling addict. I drove to my parents' house, the one I grew up in. I sat before them and spun a carefully crafted lie. I told them a friend had convinced me to invest in a restaurant project in Los Angeles that went bust because of the pandemic, leaving me with a mountain of business debt. I couldn't look them in the eye. I just hung my head and described this non-existent, failed business venture. My parents never imagined I would lie to them. All they saw was a son tormented by a professional setback. They didn't blame me. My mother just held me and cried, while my father, who seemed to age overnight, silently contacted the bank to ask about a mortgage. They raised money from relatives and friends, sold off some long-held mutual funds, and helped me pay off $370,000 of it. I myself took out $100,000 from various high-interest online lenders to fill the remaining gap. I stopped for a while after that. I worked hard, living like a robot, slowly paying back the online loans. Sarah knew nothing of the truth. She only knew I had a failed investment and was feeling down, and she often comforted me. Life seemed to be back on track, but only I knew that there was a festering hole inside me, ready to collapse at any moment. In 2022, my son Leo was born. His arrival was like a beam of light in my dark world. Holding his small, soft body, feeling his steady breath, I swore I would do anything for him, that I had to be a good father. But fate dealt me its cruelest blow. During his newborn screening, the doctors informed us that Leo's auditory system was underdeveloped, and he would need to begin 6 months of immediate, expensive treatment and rehabilitation. The estimated cost for the entire course of treatment was about $90,000. That number fell like a mountain on our already fragile family. I didn't have the face to ask my parents, who had already given me everything, for more money, and I certainly didn't dare tell Sarah our true financial situation. In desperation, I once again thought of those online lending platforms. I told myself, this is for Leo. This is to save my son. I have to do this. I used Leo's medical documents to apply for more loans, scraping together just enough to pay the first therapy bill. When it rains, it pours. My income plummeted as my company struggled in the economic downturn, and with Sarah needing to be a full-time caregiver for Leo, her income was gone completely. At this critical juncture, a friend who had helped me in the past asked to borrow money, saying his small business was about to go under. For the sake of a pitiful pride that I no longer had any right to, I lent him the only $23,000 we had, the money set aside for Leo's next phase of treatment. The result was predictable. His repayment was delayed indefinitely, and I was too embarrassed to press him for it. But the date for Leo's treatment was drawing closer, and Sarah kept asking where the money was. I was pushed to the edge of a cliff. Under the immense pressure, that terrible idea reappeared, this time in a more seductive guise: place a bet. The justification it offered was so righteous. This isn't for me, it's for Leo. As soon as I win back the treatment money, I'll stop immediately. I took out another $3,000 cash advance from my credit card. I fantasized about turning it into $6,000. No, if I could just win back the $23,000, all my problems would be solved. Instead, that money vanished in less than an hour on a single tennis match. In that moment, the last string in my mind labeled reason finally snapped. I went completely insane. I started borrowing from every platform I could find. Combined with my previous debt, I was now another $70,000 in the hole. Like a drowning man, I frantically grasped at any straw. I told myself small bets were for fun, but big bets were the only way to get back on my feet. I started gambling with an almost scientific approach, setting a small daily profit target of $500 to $1,500. Shockingly, for the first few days, I actually hit my target with ease. This illusion of stable profits gave me an unprecedented sense of confidence. I even thought I had found the holy grail to beat the house. But as the saying goes, it takes 1,000 days to chop the wood, but only one to burn it all. One out-of-control night a week later, chasing an unexpected loss, I kept doubling my bets until I had lost all of that week's winnings, along with every last cent of my borrowed principal.